Why is it that some drivers just seem to struggle? Hey Arctic family and friends, thanks for tuning in once again to our channel on YouTube. If you are new, would you go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. We will keep you up to date on new videos that are released. And if you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button, leave us a comment, let us know where you're watching from. And I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit sticky today. Probably going to step on some toes, probably going to hurt some feelings. And that's a risk I'm willing to take. I'm willing to take it because I'm not trying to piss a bunch of people off. I'm trying to help some people. I'm going to tell you that we have two options in life. We get to choose. How are we going to go through life? Are we going to take option A or option B? Option A is blame everybody else under the sun. It's my mama's fault. My dad messed me up. You know, he wasn't the best dad. That boss, my driver manager is no good. This company I'm with is no good. That service writer, he's no good. The guy in charge of maintenance. On and on and on and on. You can always find somebody to blame. No matter what the problem is, you can always find somebody else to blame. You can blame your spouse, you can blame your parents, you can blame people at work, you can blame the car driver in traffic and that four-wheeler was stupid and they didn't know. You're right, they didn't understand what it was like to operate a 80,000-pound semi-truck. They don't know, but you do. You know. And so many people choose to go through life blaming. Blaming. It's always somebody else's fault. And this is not just professional. This is friendships. This is relationships. This is marriage. This is parenting. This is everything. You have option A, blame. Or you have option B, accountability. You can take responsibility and you can be accountable for whatever the situation is. And you might be saying, but it wasn't all my fault. You're right. Very few situations are completely the fault of one individual. It's always, you know, a shared pie. This person had 50% responsibility. This person had 50, 70, 30, 80, 20, 90, 10, 60, 40, whatever it is. There is shared responsibility. But you can only change you. You can't change anybody else. You can't change anybody else's behaviors, thoughts, words. You can't force them to do anything, but you have control of you. And you can work on your thought patterns and your speech patterns and your decision making, your behaviors. When you choose option B and you say, you know what, this is my fault. This is my fault that I'm here. This is my fault that my finances are a mess. This is my fault that my health is a wreck. This is my fault that I've had 10 jobs in the last 2 years. This is my fault, fill in the blank. Whatever the situation is, you can blame somebody else or you can take responsibility. And I want to urge you, I want to tell you that the people who you see in life who are being successful, they're not choosing option A. They're not blaming. They're not playing the blame game. They're not pointing the finger at everybody else. They're looking at themselves and they're saying, what did I do to produce this result? What did I do in this situation? How did I not handle my interactions with my driver manager in the best way? How did I let the company down? That maybe means I'm not getting the miles that I want to get. Were you late? 10 out of your 10 last loads? Well, that's probably a pretty good reason. Did you refuse to come out of the house the day that you came out of the house for 2 straight months every single time you went home? A driver manager has to Plan not for what you say you're going to do, but for what your historical performance demonstrates you are most likely to do. So if you're supposed to come out of the house on Monday and the last 4 times you were home, you didn't come out till Tuesday, they're not booking you a load for Monday, because they don't want to have to call that customer and say, hey, sorry again, we got to give this load back to you. Then we hurt the relationship with that customer. And they're going to say, well, this driver never comes out on Monday. They typically come out on Tuesday, so I'll have a load ready for them on Tuesday. You've got to look at what did you do in the situation to create whatever mess that you find yourself in. I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect. I'm not, because I'm not. I'm far from it. I am simply saying that this is the approach that I take, and this is the approach that I've seen other people take who are demonstrating progress in life, growth, success. At Arctic Express, it doesn't matter. When something goes wrong, it's my fault. Why is it my fault? Was I the technician that turned the wrench? No. Was I the driver manager who planned something incorrectly? No, I'm not. But if I'm going to lead the organization, then it's my fault. And it's beautiful. I'm going to tell you, there is freedom in accepting responsibility, in taking and assuming responsibility. Because when you blame everybody else, you have no ability to change it. You got no control, no ability to change it. You're stuck because, man, this is just how my mama raised me. My wife, she spent all the money. And I'm just out here stuck on the road and I'm stranded. I got nothing. When you take responsibility, while it is painful, it is freeing, because then you can actually do something to change the future. When you blame other people, it is pointless, it is fruitless, and it produces 0 results, because you can't change anybody else. You can't make anybody else do anything. You can only control you. No matter what your past is, no matter what your work record is, you can make a decision today that you're going to start assuming responsibility. And if you say, you know what, I've had my CDL for 5 years and I've been with 20 companies. Okay, that is what it is. That's done. It's happened. But you've got to evaluate what went wrong from your standpoint, and how do you go about finding a company that you're going to be with for a long time. That's one of the things that we take pride in at Arctic Express, is that we don't want to hire you for a month. We don't want to hire you for 6 months. We don't want to hire you for a year. We want you to find a home for a long time, because we know that you make better money that way. We know you're safer that way. And you know what? If you're being safe and productive, then that means the business is being safe and productive. If you bounce around all the time, you're losing money. You're giving up earnings. And many guys will call us and they'll have 10 jobs in the last 18 months. And every single job transition, it was that company, man. This is what they did to me. This is what they did to me. This is what they did to me. I'm going to tell you a harsh reality. You are the common denominator. If you've been with 10 companies and left 10 companies in a year or 2 years or 3 years, you're the only person that was at every single one of those companies. You had different dispatchers, you had different safety directors, you had different equipment, you had different lanes, and the consistent piece was you. And you're only ever going to find a long-term place to be successful if you figure out what you were doing that contributed to those relationships not being successful. If every time something goes wrong, you just run out the door and you quit, by the time you've been in trucking for 30 years, you're going to work for 150 companies or 200 companies. And you're not going to make half the money you should have because of all the time wasted in transitions. We are not perfect. I'm not perfect. That's not what I'm trying to communicate. I'm just simply trying to say there is a better option for how you approach life. And if you're not taking responsibility for where you are today, man, I would desperately encourage you to start. Start in one area: physical health, finances, your job performance. If you don't know what to do, that's okay. Call somebody and ask for help. Call somebody else and call your driver manager. Listen, if you don't work for Arctic Express, or if you do work for Arctic Express, that's awesome. Call your driver manager and say, hey, DM, what could I do better? Do you want to know how surprised your driver manager would be to have you call in and just say, how am I doing? What can I do better? You know why? Because most people don't do that. Most people already know what they're not doing, and they don't want it pointed out because they don't want to have to change it. They don't want to stop playing 6 hours of video games on their 10-hour break and then sleeping for another 10 hours and taking a 16-hour break total. If that's what you want to do, fine. But you're not going to make very much money doing that. And then you're going to blame it on the company. You're going to leave and you're going to say, I just couldn't make any money with that company. It's hard, man. I get it. I get that truck driving is hard. You've got a busy, long week. You are very hardworking. But from the company side, it's not a cakewalk either. But I tell you what makes it better. When you've got a company that says, we'll be responsible, we'll take accountability. And you have drivers who also say, man, that was on me. I'm sorry. I didn't do that right. You got a beautiful thing. You got a beautiful relationship where success can be found. I'm not trying to be all emotional or anything like that, but man, I just want you to do well. Man, I want you to have success, whether you're with Arctic or you're not with Arctic. That's not my priority today. My priority is to tell you that there's a different way to approach life. It's painful, and that's why a lot of people don't do it. But if you assume responsibility and you say, I'm accountable for where I am in your life, you find freedom, you find power, you find influence, you find opportunity for improvement. I hope you'll give it a try. And you can't give it a try for one day or for 1 week. This is a long-term endeavor. If you're out of shape, you didn't get out of shape overnight. It might be 20 years of a process of getting out of shape, and it's going to take time to get it back. If professionally you're not where you want to be, it's going to take some time to develop those skills and abilities, but you got to start, and I hope you'll start today.